SNESdrunk. Many moons ago, when I made a video that covered every Disney Super Nintendo game, I got some comments, okay, maybe 2 comments, saying, hey, you forgot this Snow White game. Well, as it turns out, this Snow White game is not a Disney game. It's not based on the Disney movie. Hey, cool, so it's pulling from the original Brothers Grimm story, right? Nope, it's based on the sequel titled Happily Ever After, and if you're like me, you might ask the same question I did. What in the heck is this movie? And yeah, at first glance, it clearly isn't Disney. Instead, it was a last-ditch effort to save the struggling production company Filmation Associates, who had previously released stuff like The Archie Show and the Star Trek animated series back in the 70s, as well as tons and tons of failed TV projects like Lassie's Rescue Rangers, to give one example, to which Lassie's co-creator, Rudd Weatherwax, said, "That's not Lassie, that's trash." But the criticism of Filmation's quality did not deter young Jeffrey Schwaber, the COO of Happily Ever After's film distributor, First National Film Corporation. He's quoted in an Orlando Sentinel article as saying, "We're about to shock the world, I'll tell you that. And I don't see many parents who can afford denying their children the opportunity to see the sequel of Snow White." You hear that? You're a terrible parent if you don't let your kids see this movie. That's some quality BS sales talk right there, because it ignores the simple problem with Happily Ever After. It sucks. It's a clearly inferior product to Disney's Snow White in just about every way, but most obviously in the art and animation department. I mean, kids aren't stupid. They're going to notice the difference in quality the same as anyone else would, especially when it comes to a classic like Snow White. So as such, Happily Ever After was a massive flop, making only $3.3 million at the box office, despite a huge $10 million ad campaign. And plus, Disney ended up suing them, of course, but not before a video game was made. Ugh, there's always a video game. Snow White Happily Ever After was made by Imagitech Design and released in October 1994 for the Super Nintendo, and both the NES and Sega Genesis versions were scheduled for release but canceled. So we've only got the SNES game here, and this is usually the part where I talk about how this game shouldn't exist and whatever, but it's actually not too terrible. It's better than the movie at least, albeit barely. As you can see, it's a side-scrolling platformer, and you can play as either Snow White or as Prince Charming, who's been turned into what the movie refers to as a Shadow Man. No, not that Shadow Man, unfortunately. See, the witch from the original Snow White may be dead, but her brother Lord Malice is out for revenge, and to the game's credit, it does tell 2 different stories based on which character you choose. You get, 46 lives to get through 8 levels split into a couple stages each, with no saves or passwords. Each stage has at least 1 checkpoint before the game tells you to find the exit, and you just kinda jump around until you find it. And if you can't, you just stand still long enough and the game will point you in the right direction. It's standard stuff from a gameplay aspect, as you might expect, but you have to fix the controls first. The original layout has B to jump and A to attack, which works fine for an NES game, but using the SNES controller, it's annoying. Thankfully, you can flip the control scheme to have the Y button attack as God intended. Be forewarned though, this is one of those games where your jump behaves differently depending on whether you're moving forward or not. It's tempting to play this one like any other hop and bop platformer, but if you do, you're in for a bad time. You have to wind up your jumps, so to speak, building even the tiniest momentum before jumping ahead, which is a pain in the neck at first, but it's somewhat forgiving. I mean, it's a Snow White game after all. Plus, I've played way too many generic-ass games over the years that I feel immune to bad controls. Only broken controls bother me, and this game isn't broken, so hooray. This one really isn't that bad though. Press the X button and your character can toss grenade apples as well as homing apples, which is pretty funny, if only because it makes me wish they'd stick all the Contra weapon upgrades in this game. But yeah, there's tons of stuff to collect, including warp points that put you in other places to collect other stuff, which gives this game a distinctly Amiga-ass vibe, or really just more like a Western Studio vibe. You can always tell when a Western Studio designed a game because the sound effects are so jarringly loud and don't match the music at all. It sounds like someone's toddler is wandering around the kitchen banging on pots and pans. So yeah, Snow White isn't a Disney game, instead it's based on the cheap, crappy sequel, but it's really not as horrific as you might think. I mean, it's got nothing on Snow White and the 7 Clever Boys. Ugh. The Super Nintendo catalog has over 1,700 releases total, and that includes 717 releases in North America, and while obviously not every game is going to crack the top 50, or even in the top 300 in this case, it's also not spectacularly awful enough to be memorable, so as such, it falls in that 500 to 600 sweet spot amongst all the NES games, right alongside stuff like the Chester Cheetah games or Kyle Petty's No Fear Racing. It's just yet another title used to promote a crappy product. And that is all for now. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.